this is Dan of dyads411 Guitar Lessons, and I've got a free course out there at tinyurl.com/danh411. So if you want to deep dive, and if you're watching my lessons and saying, you know, geez, these are great lessons, because they're the best lessons in the world, right? And you want to just pick up the guitar and go, and you want to come back to my YouTube channel and watch the lessons and understand exactly what I'm showing here, then get my foundational course. It is free. It's at tinyurl.com/danh411. And yeah, you do get on my mailing list, and I will send you emails, but I'm not a pushy salesperson. I've got some paid things out there, and I send you emails to tell you about them. But I comply with COPA and the GDPR and the CAN spam and all that stuff. But there's a link on every single email that says unsubscribe. So all you got to do is unsubscribe, and you still have access to the course, because once you get the course, you'll have access to it. I had somebody sign up the other day, and like within 5 minutes, they unsubscribed because they wanted the course, but they didn't want to get my emails. But that's okay. But if you want to go deeper, I do have a Patreon out there. I've got merch. I've got all kinds of cool stuff. And what I do is whenever I put out something new, whether it's a YouTube video or a lesson on my Patreon or something like that, or a course, I will send you an email. And that helps support my channel. It helps support the free lessons that I'm putting out there. So take a look at those. Stay on my email list. It doesn't take 2 seconds to look at an email and decide whether or not you want to read it or not. But again, if you want to unsubscribe, you're more than welcome to. And I appreciate you checking out the free course. So again, the free course is over at tinyurl.com/danh411. Today we're going to talk about phrasing one more time. And we're going to talk about what I did at the beginning there. We're going to talk about double stops. Now in music theory, a double stop is when 2 notes are played at the same time. The reason it's called a stop is because we're stopping the string at a particular vibrational point. So for instance, this string is open. Now I'm going to stop it at the 7th fret. And if I play 2 strings and I stop them at the 7th fret, then that's called a double stop. So you hear that in all kinds of music. I think the most common modern music that double stops are used in is country. But that doesn't mean it can't be applied to rock, blues, metal, anything, right? I play solos quite a bit, and so does Kirk Hammett, that sound like this. At the beginning of that, it sounded kind of like a country lick, but those are all double stops. And there's some good ones in there that sound very country, and there's some other ones in there that sound very rock. And there's some other ones that sound metal. So it just depends on what you're playing. So anytime you grab those 2 notes, you're going to want to stay within the scale. So let's go ahead and look at the E minor scale, which is played on the 6th string at 12, 14, 15, the 5th string at 12, 14, 15, the 4th string at 12, 14, 11, 12, 14 on the 3rd string, 12, 13, 15 on the 2nd string, and 12, 14, 15 on the 1st string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take any 2 of those notes between 2 strings. For instance, if I play across the 3rd string and the 2nd string, on the 3rd string at the 14th fret, and on the 2nd string at the 15th fret, I got one of those country licks. Now I'm playing with my ring finger and my pinky here, and I'm going to go ahead and bend up with the 3rd string bending up a little bit and the 2nd string bending up a little bit less. But listen to it and make sure it's not too dissonant and still sounds like it's within the key, right? Within the song. Probably bending the 3rd string up a whole step. And then put some vibrato on it. 2nd string doesn't go up as much. Maybe about a 1/4 of a step, not quite. Remember, your in-between notes, your microtones that you can get when you bend, those are basically like a trombone. So we're going to have to listen and use our ear to find the right sweet spot. I talked about that country lick in one of the previous lessons. Let me try that again. And if you go back and watch that one, this is the 4th phrasing lesson that I'm doing. So there was one that I did on dad bends, there was one that I did on pinch harmonics, there was one that I did on vibrato, which in the vibrato lesson I talk about some of these country licks, and this one is of course going to be on your double stops. But all the other previous phrasing lessons using the vibrato, using the bends, maybe not so much the pinch harmonics, but using that will allow you to get some cool phrasing in when you do these double stops. So not just this, but this. See, bending and vibrato. Pinch harmonics, probably not as much. So in that scale, we can go ahead and play across the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd strings. We can play on the 5th and the 4th strings at the 12th fret and the 14th fret. Then the 4th and the 3rd strings at the 12th fret and the 14th fret. Then when I get to the 3rd and the 2nd strings, I can play on the 12th fret on both. And then on the 3rd string, play at the 14th, and the 2nd string play at the 15th, which I already did, right? But we can also play on the 12th fret at the 3rd string and the 13th fret on the 2nd string. So you can get something like this. 12th fret, 12th fret, then 2nd string, I think I said 2nd string, right? 2nd string, 13th fret. You hear that in a lot of pop music. Offspring does a lot of stuff like that. Maybe U2, right? You can hear some stuff like that in some pop music. Not a whole lot of vibrato or bending or anything going on in those type of licks, but we could add it in. That wasn't very good. Something like that. Not something I'm used to playing, so I'd have to play around with that to figure out exactly where I want to play it at. But you got that kind of stuff there. And then of course across the 5th and the 4th strings, the 4th and the 3rd strings, and then the 3rd and the 2nd strings. So you got all kinds of cool stuff in there, like I got a string that's going out of tune. Let me tune up real quick and I'll come back. Okay, so while I'm tuning, don't forget, I got a free course out there to help you unlock the fretboard. And I talked about it at the beginning, but here it is again. tinyurl.com/dnh411. If you want to check that out, it'll help you see the fretboard in a whole new way. There's all kinds of really awesome theory out there, but it is daunting. It is confusing. A lot of people who are trying to just pick up the guitar and play, they don't have time to read 1,000 books and watch all these courses and everything like that. They just want to pick up the guitar and go. So if you're kind of an intermediate player, you know your cowboy chords, maybe your bar chords, maybe you know the first box of the pentatonic, but you're like, how do I play all the rest of that stuff? Then check out my free course. It's going to help you unlock the fretboard, see the scale shapes and how they are in a circular pattern, how they lock together like puzzle pieces, and how you can use them to move them all over the fretboard and play intuitively over any song in any key with solos that you want to play. Now, you won't be the best player in the world after watching this course. It's a free course. It's not going to give you everything that you need, but it'll help you understand the basics behind why the scale shapes are structured the way they're structured and how they're movable. So once you learn them in one key, you can move them to another key, and it makes it really easy to play. And there's 7 positions in every scale shape. I don't think I go through every single position, but I show you how to map the positions out. And then in my free courses that I have here at YouTube, I show you a lot of the scale shapes. And then over in my Patreon, I map a lot of things out as well. And I'm going to have future courses where I go through everything with you. So sign up to the free course at tinyurl.com/dnh411. Understand that, then that'll be a foundation. You can come back to YouTube, learn the lessons that I'm showing you on YouTube. And when you're ready to go further and deep dive, stay on my email list and I'll send you all the information that I have about any courses that I have coming up and things like that. So check it out. Back to the lesson. So that basically gives you an idea of how you can take those double stops across an entire scale shape. When we get to the first and the second strings, you can go ahead and do kind of the same thing, like across the 12th fret on both, and across the 15th fret on both. But we could also use the 12th fret on one and the 15th fret on the other. Like let's say the 12th fret on the second string and the 15th fret on the first string. Kind of sounds dissonant, right? But even though it's dissonant, it sounds like it's in a major sounding scale. What if I flip it? What if I go 15th fret on the second string and then 12th fret on the first string? Now that sounds more metal. So we're getting into some pop, into some country, into some rock. Now we're getting into some metal. And you could take that shape, which is across 3 frets, so it's a whole step and a half step, from the 12th to the 15th frets, and move it up in the scale. So use your ring finger as anchor. On the scale, on the 3rd fret, I would go from the 15th fret to the 17th fret to the 19th fret to the 20th fret. So use that as an anchor. Keep your fingers 3 frets apart. So 12th on the first string, 15th on the second string, bending up, listen. I'm probably going up a whole step on the second string from the 15th to the 17th. Then I'm going to move my anchor, my ring finger, to the 19th fret, which means my first finger is going to be now on the 13th fret of the first string. But we're going to play that same shape. And I'm bending up from the 17th to the 19th. And then I'm going to go from the 17th to the 19th with my anchor, with my ring finger, which means my first finger is going to be on the 16th fret of the first string. And then I'm going to go up to the 20th fret, which means my first finger is going to be on the 17th fret of the first string. So you have something like this. And it can give you an awesome ending to a solo, and it doesn't have to be played there all the time, right? If you move the scale shape around, then it can be played in different spots. And it's dissonant, and if you're not bending exactly right, which I probably wasn't just then it's going to sound a little out of tune. But again, work on your vibrato, work on your bends, and you'll get it to sound right. Now another double stop that I want to show you is a really cool one that you hear in a lot of metal music, but they also put this in rock and blues. It sounds like this. And what we're doing basically there is I'm not playing 2-string next together. It's actually skipping a string. And we're muting the string with my playing hand. So for instance, I might go and play on the 5th string at the 5th fret, and then the octave of that note, which will be on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. So again, 5th fret on the 5th string, and then with my pinky or my ring finger on the 3rd string at the 7th fret. The same note, but it's creating that double stop sound. We're going to mute with the pad of my index finger the 4th string. So I'm not going to play like this. I'm going to go ahead and mute that. And then this is where you want to learn your single note scales, like this type of stuff. Because once you got that as a foundation, for instance, this one right here, Then we're going to go ahead and just use my index finger to just go up the scale and then keep my ring finger on the octave. To find the octave of any note, you just go 2 strings up. So in this case, I'm playing on the 5th fret of the 5th string. And then 2 strings up, 1, 2. So 4th string, 3rd string, and then 2 frets up, 1, 2. Then you got that. Across the 5th and the 3rd strings, and also the 6th and the 4th strings, that's exactly how it works. 6th and 4th strings will be like this. So again, 6th string at the 5th fret, 4th string at the 7th fret. And then when I get to the 5th and the 3rd strings, 5th string at the 5th fret, 3rd string at the 7th fret. And how do you know if you're going a whole step or half step? Well, let's look at the E minor scale, which is on the 6th string at the 12th, 14th, and 15th. 5th string at 12th, 14th, and 15th. 12, 14 on the 4th string. 11, 12, 14 on the 3rd string. 12, 13, 15 on the 2nd string. And then 12, 14, 15 on the 1st string. Right, same thing. We're going up the scale. We're going up the scale. If we find that E note on the 5th string, then we can go backwards and forwards up and down the scale. Just like that. So whatever we're playing on the 5th string, we're just going to play the octave of it on the 3rd string, which is again 2 strings up and 2 frets up. Just like that. So if you're playing a song that's in the key of E and you want to use the E scale, but you want to use that double stop kind of shape, you can just combine that with the other things we talked about, the bends, all that stuff. Yeah, something like that. You get all kinds of cool dynamics just by adding all that stuff in there. Now, across the 3rd string and the 1st string, or the 4th string and the 2nd string, you got to go 2 strings up and 3 frets up because of the way the B string is tuned a little bit differently. So, for instance, on the 4th string, right here I would play the 5th fret on the 4th string, but instead of the 7th fret on the 2nd string, I would play the 8th fret. Get the same dynamic. Of course, you got to know your scale shapes. Typically on this one, you want to know like a single string scale shape, the right notes to hit with your index finger, which you'll use your index finger as your anchor, right? You'll hit the right note along the 4th string, and then your pinky or your ring finger, whatever you use, and hit that note on the 2nd string, will just follow along. Same thing between the 3rd string and the 1st string. We got to go 2 strings up, 3 frets up. So 3rd string, 5th fret, right there, and then on the 1st string, we're playing the 8th fret. So again, 2 strings up, 3 frets up, just because of the way it's tuned. And then of course you can go ahead and play around with that. Just and then combining all using your dad bends, using your vibrato, using your pinch harmonics, using your double stops. You get all kinds of cool stuff in there. And that's how you write solos, right? You know, you think to yourself, okay, I want to play in this scale shape, which is your typical Aeolian scale shape. And then while you're in that scale shape, you'll say, okay, I want to put a double stop here. Then I'm going to put some harmonics in the next part maybe. Then some vibrato. Then some bends. And then you just get all kinds of, crazy stuff in there. You could either improvise that or you could actually plan it all out. If you plan it all out, then it becomes a signature solo for whatever your song you're doing this over. But if you can get to the point where you can improvise this as well, then of course you can just go into any band situation and just kind of, noodle around and play around with it. Now, what keeps it from being noodling versus, actually more direct and more specific, not necessarily planned out, it's still improvised, but it's not necessarily planned out, is that you have phrases and ideas and things like that that you're kind of gravitating towards. So instead of doing something like this, where you're just kind of noodling around, nothing wrong with that, sounds good, but maybe you're doing something like this instead. And you got that in your muscle memory, and it's more of a phrase or more of a lick than just, noodling around. And of course you want to train your fingers to play in all kinds of different patterns. That's also part of phrasing as well. Lots of different patterns in your playing, lots of different dynamics and techniques and ways to play, not just your vibrato and your bends and your harmonics. You got scales that you can use, you got tapping you can use, you got sweeps or arpeggios that you can use. You can play the notes of the chords. There's just so much stuff that you can do when you're learning all of this, which is why, again, it's very limited in scope as to what you have here, but there's an unlimited amount of things that you can do with it. So to get that foundation, check out tinyurl.com/danh411 and get my free course. And then on top of that, keep coming back here and watching the YouTube lessons. Like, subscribe, and share. This is the 4th lesson that I did in this phrasing series. So after this, I'm going to be kicking it up a notch. You'll notice that I got my background done differently. I got a new intro I'm going to be putting out. I'm coming up with a domain name, a specific domain name, instead of using the tinyurl thing and all that stuff. I've got merch that's out now. You can get that over at linktree.com/danh411. I am a TrueFire affiliate, so if you want to check out that, it's over at linktree.com/danh411 as well. If you want to get lessons from other people, I've got Patreon going on. I mean, it's been a busy year for me, and if you want to help support my channel and help me keep these free lessons going, then by all means, check out some of my stuff. Get my free course, get on my mailing list, learn the foundational stuff, and then I'll let you know when I got courses coming out. I'll let you know when I got more Patreon videos coming out. I call those the bare bones Bottega because they're just basically more intimate and me talking more about deep dive stuff rather than going over some of the things I do in the YouTube lessons. But it's all good. If you just like the YouTube lessons, that's fine. I'm happy you're here. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one.